Hey, this is Dr. Ben Glass again with the Pre-Chiro podcast. And today we have the pleasure of connecting with a chiropractor out in Arkansas, Dr. Grant Dennis. Thank you so much for taking some time to share your perspectives, insights, and inspiration with the prospective students and also current students. But we're really focused on who's considering becoming a chiropractor and demystifying this path for them. Can we get started by you just introducing yourself and sharing what your background was before you went to chiropractic school and what attracted you to this path?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, Ben, I appreciate you having me this morning. My journey's a little bit unique. I think most chiropractors that I talk to have a legacy, in that they were raised in a chiropractic family, or maybe they have a chiropractic story. And I'm just going to go ahead and just tell you, I don't have that legacy or that story with growing up in a chiropractic, journey growing up. I didn't see a chiropractor growing up. There was one thing that was always at the forefront of my mind as I went through my journey of, going through undergrad and going through high school. And I was always an infielder. I played baseball in high school and then also in college. And then I played receiver, and everything it seemed that I was doing that I felt like I was good at was always involving my hands. So I always knew that I wanted to use my gifts to make the world a better place using my hands with whatever that meant for me. Right. And so as my journey sort of progressed through, I was exploring, I guess I'll be a surgeon, maybe I'll deliver babies. I just wasn't real sure. I just knew I wanted to use my hands in some way to help influence people as it relates to their health. And so the more and more I started going down that journey of searching for what that was going to be for me, I ended up stumbling across chiropractic, explored chiropractic, got really plugged in with a teacher early on in chiropractic school. As it was prior to them being my teacher, I went up there to actually visit chiropractic college, and they were like, hey, so we get to help people every day with our hands. This is what we do without the use of drugs or surgery. And I was like, okay, so this is it for me. This is exactly what I want to do. So I jumped in full force, not even really understanding really what chiropractic was. And the more and more I delved into the green books as I was in school, the more and more I got more attracted to the particular technique I do now. And then I just kind of evolutionized from there. And so it's kind of a unique story, but one that I think probably a lot of your viewers can resonate with.
Yeah, most definitely. I didn't grow up with a chiropractor either. I was in college searching for that path, also using my hands as a tennis player, knowing that I was really good with my hands, catching and just using my hands. That's how I was guided to this profession, actually. And so can you share what your experience was in chiropractic school? You said that you have a technique that you practice now that you got inspired by through your reading of some chiropractic philosophy, or just you surrounding yourself with certain groups of people. Speak to that, and then also speak to how that technique is showing up for you in practice today. How are you expressing that?
Yeah. So I practice exclusively knee, chest, upper cervical, specific chiropractic care. I learned that through the Art of the Specific teaching programs as a student coming up, which is now I have the opportunity to go back and teach at, which is one of my greatest rewards, is being able to come in and teach in the same way that I was taught and be a student as a teacher at the same time. BJ always talked about you should always be a student. And so it's cool for me to be able to be a student while being a teacher, ultimately just a conversation starter for people along their journey. But as I was, I just entered chiropractic school with the mindset that I wanted to be great. I wanted to be the best at what I do in my town. I wanted to be the person that anybody in my town that's sick and suffering, it's been everywhere and tried everything and nothing's worked. I wanted to be the go-to. I wanted to be the person in my town that people say, this is who you go to when you can't figure out what's going on, right? And, because early on in chiropractic, that's how chiropractic was founded, right? Is it was people who were searching through medicine, not getting results, and they ended up in a chiropractic office. And so as I started reading more and more about BJ and how he was evolutionizing the profession early on, I noticed that he started off with more of an upper cervical emphasis, and then he moved and progressed to a full spine kind of model with majors and minors, and then came full circle in our masterpiece, his last green book, where he talks about how he kind of came back to the upper cervical area. So as I was exploring through that and kind of deductive reasoning kind of through his thought process on that, I just thought, a lot of the miracle stories I see and hear, and a lot of the science that validates what we do is coming from the upper cervical spine. And a lot of what I do in my office, utilizing computerized infrared thermography, utilizing a biomechanical motion x-ray, adjusting when necessary, and knowing when people are clear and leaving them. Those are the types of things that really resonate with me, but more importantly, blended the philosophy, science, and art of what it is that we do that made sense for me from an objective perspective.
Mhm.
And I just think with students that are watching this, if you can find that technique, whatever it is for you, that really you feel like blends the philosophy, the science, and the art, more importantly, makes you feel like when a patient leaves your door that they're better than when they came, and you're commanding a fee for that, that you feel good about. And that's what I feel like doesn't lead to burnout, doesn't lead to the chiropractic student that graduates lost, doesn't know where their trajectory is taking them, doesn't know what particular technique they want to practice and what type of setting, which then ultimately dictates what type of ideal client you want to attract and who you want to see, what you want to charge them for that. I just think that the most important thing early on a student can do is really find a technique that resonates with them. Explore all techniques, because you have to explore them all in order to figure out which one resonates with you, right?
Mhm.
But I think, the more familiar you are with the different types of analysis, just can't put a premium anymore on the analysis of what you do as a chiropractor. In my opinion, is the most important thing you could do. How do I know my patient needs this? How do I know that they're improving? And how do I know when they no longer need the adjustment and that they're clear, which dictates how often you need to be seeing them. I just think sometimes we get caught in a rut of people coming in the same exact frequency all the time, not based on any objective indicators. And that can be really, really frustrating as a chiropractor that's practicing full time, which I think, in my opinion, ultimately leads to them being frustrated, burnt out, and ultimately, sadly enough, leaving the profession a lot of times.
Yeah. So right now we're having a conversation with like a prospective student audience, and you're really uh, going through a lot of the meat and potatoes of what got you to where you're at today. And I was wondering if we can get a little more detailed and a little more granular as to what the art of the specific is really training you in, and also what knee chest. You had mentioned thermography, you had mentioned motion X-rays, you had mentioned um, using this unique type of table. Can you just speak to that prospective student about maybe the world of upper cervical, what knee chest is, and how it's unique, and just really help fill in some of those gaps in their understanding of what it is that you're up to over there.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So the art of the specific is a knee chest solid headpiece upper cervical technique. It's really more so, the side of, we talk a lot about, the highway that you're driving on is called upper cervical. That's just meaning I'm on the highway of upper cervical. This is the way I approach a patient. This is my art as it relates to the chiropractic profession. Now, whatever car you decide to drive in on that highway is slowly going to be up to you. I mean, docs that do AO get great results. Docs that do Blair get great results. But it's because we're all on the same highway. We're just driving different cars. Some are driving a Porsche, some are driving a Benz, some are driving a Lamborghini, but ultimately we're all getting to the same destination. But the goal, I think, as a chiropractic student, I think I really want to relay to your viewers is that we're all playing the game of golf, right? But the goal is to get the ball in the hole with as few swings as possible. And in chiropractic, it's no different. We're trying to clear a patient out with whatever means you're using. For us, it's computerized infrared thermography. We want to clear the scan because that tells us, according to the science and the research, that this patient is clear of nerve interference, which we can see, we can visualize, we can measure. Our goal is that. And so we want to get to that point with as few adjustments or as few swings as possible. Now, whether you're using Blair, the art of the specific, AO, as long as we understand the goal is similar, now we're all just on the same journey, but who can get there the quickest, right? And so BJ on average was adjusting around 35 to 40% of the time. It's because BJ was a master. He was unbelievable in his craft, way ahead of his time, which now what we've tried to do is there's a lot of docs that will say they practice the way BJ did. And I'm just here to break that to people that nobody practices the way BJ did because nobody was there when BJ was. BJ used an NCM, which was because that was what was available to him. And so, we understand that computerized infrared thermography for us is a great neurodiagnostic indicator that's backed by science, backed by research that looks at the nerve system, right? No, it basically tells us when and when not to make a correction. Now, the biomechanical X-ray series that we use tells us where. And so the X-ray gives us the identity to know where. Now, a lot of our assumptions based on biomechanical X-rays come from Panjabi and White, which is Spinal Biomechanics 101. We know what the bones should do normally, and so we're just essentially on X-ray looking for normal biomechanics, which inherently also allows us to pick out abnormal. And so we're able to pick out constants, variables, multiple listings, but more importantly, what's the one listing that pockets all the balls, that clears the graph, and that ultimately is going to give this patient health and healing because they're free of nerve interference, which we know blends into the philosophy of what it is that we believe, which allows innate to flow through the middle impulse down through the body out to the tissue cells and restore someone's health. And so We teach that. We teach computerized infrared thermography pattern analysis. We teach biomechanical x-ray as we interpret it today. We teach the actual knee chest adjustment, which is the way that BJ sort of evolved through. He went from sort of a full spine adjustment to a knee chest posture to a side posture, kind of back to a knee chest posture, kind of back to a side posture. And there's a lot of, and until we get there one day and can ask him why he did that, we'll never know. I have some assumptions and some beliefs and some opinions, but it really doesn't matter. I don't think, personally for me, N8 knows the difference between a posterior arch or a transverse process contact or a side posture or knee chest. It's just we're trying to deliver a force at the most advantageous way that N8 can adapt to create the chiropractic adjustment, because we don't make the chiropractic adjustment. We just apply a universal force that can be adapted by N8, which then goes back to our philosophy, right? And so I just love the art of the specific, and it resonates so much with me, and I'm passionate about it because it truly allows a practitioner to have passion behind the true understanding of philosophy, how it blends with the science, the thermography, the x-ray, and the adjustment itself, and the validation of the adjustment with the post scan. And then the art, which is just, Ben, you and I can both paint a picture of a cell phone, and people may be able to see that it's a cell phone, but they're going to look a little bit different because your art's going to look a little bit different than my art. And so one of the things we really preach to our students also, that we teach, and our docs also, is your art is unique to you. If you can make the argument to me that Atlas Right or an ASR is what you're going to take today, and you have a logical, rational reasoning behind that, then I'm going to be behind you, because the scan's going to validate ultimately whether you were right or wrong, not me. And N8's going to make that decision for you, right? And so if I make the argument that I see a body left, and my art's a little bit different on the way I deliver the thrust, but at the end of the day, we're both shooting the ball in the hole, and you get it in there in 4 swings, and I get it in there in 3. Kudos to you for being a little bit better than me. But that's ultimately the journey we're just trying to take students and docs on, to sort of, help them build their practice, see more people, and create the lifestyle of their dreams in the process.
Beautiful. Let's shift gears here out of practice and into professional engagement. It sounds like you found ways and outlets to really fuel your passions and focus your energy. So you're obviously teaching, as you just mentioned, with the art of the specific, but you're also engaged with the IFCO. Can you mention your involvement, what inspired you to get involved with them, and then what your role is currently with the organization and what the organization stands for?
Sure. Yeah, man, you're a great interviewer. I appreciate those leading questions. Yeah. So chiropractic's important to me. I can't imagine a world where patients don't have the ability to have access to chiropractic care. That's just something that, as I started coming through the profession and meeting different people, one of the things that was really apparent to me early on was that we have a very, very poor political backing. What I mean by that is, you have to have laws that govern what it is that you do. So students watching this, at some point you're going to graduate. And what I would hate to see is you graduate, get a license to do something, and then the state tell you cannot practice that, right? Because a lot of people will say, well, PT and chiro are the same thing. How are they different? How, is osteopathy the same as chiropractic? Now we have the illustrious osteopractors coming in that are whatever they are. And now PTs are getting certifications to adjust or manipulate. And so our identity as chiropractors has never been more important than it is right now. And so the only way you protect the identity of chiropractic is to have a political backing. You must have some sort of presence with the lawmakers that govern the law over the license you practice under, which ultimately trickles down to your boards of your states and that sort of thing. So, I'm currently the vice president of the International Federation of Chiropractors and Organizations, the IFCO. We really have one mission, and that's to protect the chiropractor's right to detect, analyze, and adjust vertebral subluxation. Why? Because that is what chiropractors do that nobody else can do. A PT cannot detect and locate and analyze vertebral subluxation. A massage therapist cannot do that. Only a chiropractor can do that, and chiropractors have been doing that since this profession was founded. You would understand that if, as a student, if there's one big takeaway, I ask that all students that are watching this pick up volume 14, the chiropractic textbook. It was written by Stevenson. It outlines verbatim, word for word, what chiropractic is and what it is not. Because if you understand what chiropractic is and then what it isn't, it will help you decipher between all of the silver bullets and things that are going to come at you in practice that may deter you from practicing chiropractic unbeknownst to you, right? I just think, the difference between ignorance and stupidity is ignorance. You just are ignorant and don't know what the differences are. Stupidity is I now understand what the differences are, but I choose to just not listen to it. And so I would just hate for students to graduate ignorant, and not that you're ignorant, but you're just blind to what it is that chiropractic truly is. Because I just am of the belief that chiropractic schools are not doing a good enough job, with the very exception of a few, of really telling students what chiropractic is and what it isn't, right? What is gained by chiropractic as established by the founders, and what is delineated as outside in, down above, right? And so I got involved in politics early on just because I realized and it's not particularly something I enjoy, as the political realm and the political arena, but I just started to see that a lot of people don't want to get involved in politics. And so if you're not one of those that wants to get involved, that's fine, but you should at least contribute funds to your own advancement in the profession. One of the things I see a lot that just bugs me is chiropractors actually contribute to their own demise. They're putting money into things they don't realize are actually demising your own profession. Put money into things that support you. So put money back into the schools that are teaching you how to practice chiropractic. I personally give a lot of money to Sherman College of Chiropractic. I feel like they're putting students out with the message. They're teaching them what chiropractic is and what it isn't. And so I want to support chiropractic, because ultimately it boils down to this. If you're not supporting chiropractic, why should it support you? If you're not putting your resources, and it doesn't have to be money. As a student, you can contribute. You can join the IFCO for a mere $50, and it is for your entire time you're in school. $50 that you're contributing to support your ability to graduate and do this. I don't know of a better support mechanism in the world than to, for $50, support something that will support you back, right? And so it breaks my heart sometimes to see chiropractors who are struggling as they graduate. And I say, well, what areas of chiropractic are you supporting? Are you supporting research in any way? Are you supporting politics in any way? Are you supporting the schools in any way? Because if you're not, then I don't understand how you expect chiropractic to support you back, because you're not supporting it. And the universe, and it's the way it works, is support's conditional. And you're only going to receive support in the very same way you're giving support. In the same way, if you're not giving referrals, you're not going to get referrals. It's a reciprocal relationship in any avenue. And I just try to live congruent. And along that process, somewhere along the way, I got the opportunity to serve in a way, to lead the organization, and to lead, into helping me sort of support the profession, and not expecting anything in return. But what I've found is the more I have supported these initiatives, the more I have gotten support back through my community in being able to help people and get more resource that I can then dump back into the profession.
100%. And I would say that chiropractic changed both of our lives. When we went into school, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into.
Right.
We made the right choice unknowingly, and we're thankful for that. And for that reason alone, we want to give back to this profession, because we see there's a lot of people out there that are lacking purpose, that don't know what they want to do with their life. That's why we're having this conversation. We hope that if you hear some of the things that are being spoken about here that resonate with you, that you'll seriously consider chiropractic. I just want you to seriously consider it. I don't want you to necessarily go to chiropractic school. I want you to think about it, hear some of this dialogue, and make the decision in an informed way. Can you speak, because I oftentimes would love to have contributed if I knew how to contribute non-monetarily as a student. $50 is nominal for the IFCO. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about how can we get students involved? What are some of the initiatives of the IFCO? If you reflect back on what's been done in the past, because I know the IFCO has been around for a while now, a really long time, even before it was called the IFCO. But can you speak to some of the contributions that the IFCO has made to the profession, and why students should really appreciate that, because it has made their lives better, whether they realize it or not?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest, contributions have been over the last, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years, as there's been attacks from outside in. For a long time, it was being attacked on the pediatric aspect. That's something that in Australia is still being fought. In Australia, they're not actually able to currently take care of 2 years and under, and manually take care of people that way. And so we've delivered resources to them to help fight that attack. There's also been some from Canada recently on the same initiatives, but also just to remove the word vertebral subluxation altogether from the paradigm. Those are some of our biggest initiatives currently that, again, it goes back to the identity. I think if that's removed, that's an issue, right? That's an issue because now everything gets blended in together. and it all looks kind of the same. And if you look back at some earlier on professions that sort of got diluted over time, that's what happened is, osteopathy, for example, sort of tried to merge into the medical model and sort of got diluted in the process. And so a lot of it is just aimed at making sure that we're proactive in attacks that come to the profession. Politically, that's sort of, never like to try to wait till your Delta blow to try to deal one back. That's never a good motto in any profession. And so we try to just equip our docs with resources and support more than anything to help fight those attacks as they come in, which as a student you should appreciate, because sometimes you're just not privy or aware to what's actually going on in the profession. And so sometimes that's where I say, if you don't want to be directly involved, at least support it, because you understand what it stands for. And if you align with it and stand with it and support it, well, then it's going to support you directly back. And I think that's the biggest thing we focus, primarily on from a political aspect.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say that the intention behind this podcast is to be more offensive minded and to really be on the expansion mode, be on the growth mode, and not so defensive. A lot of the times I get frustrated that most of the initiatives are like patching holes that have been shot in the boat by people that are haters or don't necessarily
Right.
care to learn or have the capacity to just ask questions. They just want to make assumptions and point the finger and blame things and make false accusations and create limiting beliefs in the minds of people that just take their words as truth. So I'm over here trying to say we need to be growing the infrastructure. The $50 is minimal, as I said, but what does that $50 get a student? How can we encourage students to get more involved with the IFCO? What would it look like if we had, say, more than 50% of the students across the whole world in chiropractic supporting the IFCO and had maybe an extra $100,000 or $100 million backing the IFCO? What's possible? What's been spoken about that we can do to really build this profession to the potential that we all believe that it can reach, which is to have chiropractors in communities around the world, to have resources available to start schools up around the world. Like, it's pretty important that we have this question asked of people like you, because you're in a position of power, influence, and you also see what's going on behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah. I think, the biggest thing is if you go to ifcochiro.org, if there's a student out there interested, hey, how can I learn more about this? ifcochiro.org. The biggest thing is support. I think the biggest thing is, as a student, if you're going on this endeavor of practicing principled, which is a very small percentage at this point, right? That we need to have a higher percentage of. I think the biggest thing is you're going to need support. It's going to feel like at times you're on an island. It's going to feel like at times you're isolated. It's going to feel like at times you're going to want to switch gears and sort of start to begin to blend into other professions and do other things and try to be all things to all people. And I've just seen that's not a great situation a lot of times for students, and it can lead to burnout. And so I think the biggest thing they'll get garners support from other docs who can give them a lending hand and mentorship, support in the fact that we're guarding what you're able to do, mentorship and being able to mentor you through that process as you come out of school and go into practice and begin to start to see people, take great care of people, and learn how to do that effectively, how to manage a business, how to manage taking care of people with complex situations. And that's going to need mentorship, and then I think the other one's growth. As you grow, how can I begin to influence back into the students? I think those are the three big initiatives that we try to pour back into the student population in schools, is that, if you can get those three areas, we found that the doctors that succeed have those three areas. So for the $50 fee that you're in school that you pay to that, it's essentially what you're getting is once you pay, we see your name, we reach out, we start to support and mentor you through that process, see how we can help you through your journey. And I just think that it's far easier to do it amongst a team than it is by yourself, and don't feel like you have to be on an island as you start to do this. And if you're lost, reach out. And I think just having the ability to reach out to docs who are on board with you and understand your vision and where you're trying to go, I think helps a lot through that learning curve.
100%. When I was a student in school, the IFCO had people representing them that were coming to my campus, speaking in our classrooms, hosting seminars on the weekends. Really made my experience a lot better. And that's why I like having these conversations with people like you who are representing them today, because I know that you're going to the campuses, you're doing the virtual discussions that help make this student experience better in chiropractic school. We're going to have a conversation with Jack Borla, who's, I believe, the current president, tomorrow night. And we're going to keep having these conversations to build infrastructure for who the IFCO is, what they represent, and just have students really get tapped in no matter where they're at. My whole big thing was I transferred from Western States to Life West as a
Good for you.
student, and I got into the profession in my senior year of undergrad. So I really had no idea what I was getting into in regards to how the profession operates, the schools operate. And what I realized is the schools are so disconnected from one another. The students don't talk to one another. If you're studying the art of the specific knee chest at one school, most likely you don't know any of the students at the other schools. And I know that organizations like the one you work for have changed that, and there is greater camaraderie and there is greater amount of respect amongst students at different schools. But I just think that if we had more interconnectivity within the students, that there would be a huge power in that potential there. So
Completely agree.
that's yeah, so great. I'm glad that we're in agreement with that.
And you'll
We'll
love
just
Jack.
keep, yeah. So yeah, do you have any personal vision for the contributions that you want to lead in the future? I know that you're up to a lot right now, and it might just be enough, like what you're doing right now, if that can maintain itself throughout the rest of your time in this profession or in your life. But is there anything that you're particularly inspired by that you want to share with prospective students that just is maybe your
Yeah,
calling or the gift that you want
yeah,
to give?
yeah. I just think sometimes students don't appreciate, the things you can see in your office every day. I a lot of times chiropractors love to talk about the miracle stories, the things they see, the things that, patients that come in super sick with all these different issues, and then they get resolved, without the use of drugs or surgery, and they see these things happen. And they treat it as almost if it's like it's a miracle, right? Like, and so BJ talked a lot about expecting miracles, and in my office, it's the same way. I don't talk about the miracle stories because I expect them. I expect to see them if I've identified this person as a candidate for what it is that I particularly look for. And so what inspires me every day is that. I mean, it's just that you should expect, if you've put in the time and the work and what it is that you do, to expect to see these things. And if you're not, it goes back to the whole Clarence Gonstead issue that, don't question the application, or don't question the principle, question the application of the principle. Don't when you strike out, don't switch bats. Just understand you need to learn how to hit better, right? And so that's what inspires me, is just to continually keep getting better and pour that into students to realize that what's possible for them. That's what inspires me, and what's possible for the patients who walk in our office that see things they didn't ever expect to see. I mean, that's what truly inspires me to get up and do these and see people and pour back into the IFCO and pour into the art of the specific. It's because if we don't continue to disseminate that and guard what it is that we do, then patients don't get to experience that. So that's truly what I think inspires me through the whole entire chiropractic process. As a student, it can be daunting, but if you don't truly understand what it is you're pouring into and preparing for and going through school for, it's tough to see that. But that's what I try to inspire them to see, is what is it you're working towards? What is it that you can see? And then, ultimately shadowing docs and seeing the things that they see and learning to expect miracles, I think, is truly what school should be about.
Mm-hmm. What's some resources that they can connect in with what we've been talking about here, the art of the specific? You mentioned ifcochiro.org. Where else can they go?
Yeah. So if they're interested in learning the knee, chest, upper cervical work, theartofthespecific.com, can reach out to me on Grant Dennis on Facebook Messenger. Grant@thespecific.com is my email. Any of them can reach out with any of those inquiries to try to learn more about how it is they can get plugged in. But I think the first place to start is by getting in the chiropractic textbook, getting into the green books to learn your philosophy. And once you learn the philosophy, you can figure out then, who do I need to be speaking to, right? And who am I resonating with? Who should I be following? Who should I be reaching out to help with, progress me along that journey? I think that's probably the best place to start. I hope it's with us, but it doesn't have to be. And if it's something that you're resonating more towards a different technique, we can certainly try to figure out who that is for you. But I think the first step is to support, the IFCO, ifcochiro.org, support that, begin to be disseminated through mentors there, get in the green books, start down your journey. Everyone has a journey and everyone's on a different, rung of the ladder, with the ultimate purpose that we all eventually get to the top of it, realizing we never actually will get to the top of it, right? That's the fun part.
Absolutely. So the beauty's in the process. That's what this is really all about. Did you have a specific green book shout out for knee chest to really open their mind to that?
Yeah. So the best one is the adjustment specific. or the subluxation specific, the adjustment specific, it's volume, I believe 20 or volume 28. Yeah, it's 18.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to say 28. Volume 18. That's what I would get into. But in order to get into that and really understand it, you sort of need to be plugged into with mentors who can help explain a lot of that to you. Or it can seem a very big, daunting task. It's a really big book. That's where I would start if upper cervical is interesting for you. And like I said, I'd love to help navigate that for you as a student and kind of figure out where to go from there.
Awesome.
Our masterpiece is also good. Volume 14. Our masterpiece is really good too. Volume 14, the chiropractic textbook's really good. Those are all really good places to start.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, thank you for providing some clarity for any students out there that are just hearing about chiropractic for the first time.
Right.
They're hearing a message like this. They're like, what? Upper cervical? What? I have CO. Let me go check these out. And it's going to be consistent with the messages of chiropractic, which is really important. So thank you so much for taking some time with us today, Dr. Grant.
I appreciate your time, Ben. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you.